Story 1. In the summer of 1912, Jordyn Foster was eager to take a break from her busy life on the crowded streets of New York. Then she spontaneously decided to seek salvation in Florida, a calm, tropical paradise. She set off on her adventure, anticipating white sand beaches, colorful palm trees, and the calm sound of the sea. Jordyn's eyes widened in awe as she surveyed the lush tropical landscape of her aunt's Florida estate as the train pulled into the station. The fragrance of flowers and the delicious aroma of citrus trees filled the air to the brim. Wherever she turned, she saw many bright shades, from lush green vegetation to the dazzling blue sky and the distant shimmering emerald seas of the Gulf of Mexico. Jordyn was full of enthusiasm, heading to the beach and enjoying the warmth of the sun on her skin and the soft sand under her feet. Aunt Jordyn welcomed her with joy. Jordyn's aunt knew about Jordyn's passion for swimming in the Florida seas, but she warned Jordyn that there had been several shark sightings recently. Although authorities have not found any reports of shark attacks, Jordyn immediately rejected her aunt's advice, knowing that sharks rarely attack people unless provoked. Jordyn Foster heard the call of the sea on a sunny, warm day and immediately decided to swim. She had no idea that fate had other plans for her. As she sank into the sparkling waves, a strange feeling of unease came over her. She felt that she was not alone. Before she could answer, a dark figure appeared from the depths and began to move quickly in her direction. A large bull shark of frightening 16-foot length suddenly opened its mouth wide and sucked Jordyn headfirst. Jordyn was trapped in the shark's strong jaws. The weight of the beast pushes her body under the surface. The ocean water has discolored. Previously transparent turquoise turned into a dark, cloudy blue. With each bite, Jordyn's darkest nightmares became a brutal reality as she struggled to free herself from the predator's grip. She could feel the razor-sharp edges of teeth digging into her flesh and threatening to shatter her bones. When the huge jaws of a strong bull shark descend on her body, her razor-sharp teeth sink deep into her flesh. She was repeatedly attacked by a shark whose teeth tore her skin and splashed blood into the water, while she felt as if she was being torn apart. Jordyn was forced to experience wave after wave of suffering and fear as a result of the brutal attacks of the shark, which violently tossed her defenseless body back and forth. She screamed for help, but the roar of the shark and the splashing of the water drowned out her pleas. With every passing second, Jordyn still could not free himself from the embrace of the huge predator. The agony grew stronger and stronger. While the shark was trying to grab its victim, it felt its powerful teeth digging deeper into its chest and tearing bones and tissues. Jordyn's wounds were getting more serious with every second of the shark's frenzied attack, causing more damage with each brutal bite. Jordyn's reality dissolved into a fog of suffering and horror. She was only aware of the pain that pierced her body every second. The shark's strong grip and the surrounding water drowned out her screams, leaving her feeling lonely and powerless. Jordyn began to lose control of her life as the shark attacks continued. She saw herself being pulled further and further into the abyss, and the realization of this began to fade. She felt her body weakening, and her strength was melting by the second. She knew it would only be a matter of time before the shark took her life. When a group of fishermen suddenly saw the riots from the beach, she almost lost hope of surviving. The guys rushed into the sea trying to save her. They had knives and harpoons, and their expressions were grimly determined. They were aware that they were facing a difficult opponent, but they were not ready to give up easily. Minutes flew by in a flurry of adrenaline, fueled chaos as the shark's furious tossing threatened to capsize the fishing boats with its huge waves. The guys didn't give up. They fought with all their might to keep Jordyn alive. Their commitment was unwavering. Jordyn's dead body finally freed itself from the shark's grip, and the fishermen quickly picked her up and carried her back to dry land. It was a crazy scene on the beach. When witnesses and a bystander saw Jordyn's injuries, they gasped in horror. Jordyn's bones and ribs were partially visible in some of the bite wounds on her battered torso. Medical staff responded quickly and accurately to Jordyn's injuries. Jordyn quickly got into an ambulance and was on his way to the hospital. Several days passed before Jordyn regained consciousness. Her wounds were carefully patched and bandaged while pain shot through her body. She will live with the wounds left by her terrifying encounter with the bull shark. But the valor of the fisherman who saved her was what kept her alive. Story 2. In the hot summer of 1956, the sun was burning directly into the alligator's head. There is the California Bay of La Jolla, forcing crowds of people to seek solace in the cold waves. Both scuba enthusiasts and divers are flooding the region in search of underwater adventures and respite from the sweltering heat. Peter and Liam, two friends who had been preparing for a dive from the edge of La Jolla Bay for weeks, were among the crowd. They had previously explored the ocean depths together as experienced divers, and they couldn't wait to add another adventure to their list as they donned diving gear and inspected their gear. Peter and Liam could feel their excitement growing. The sky was clear, the water was pleasant and inviting, and the sea was calm. When they plunged into the depths, they were greeted by the bright shades of the ocean and exotic marine flora and fauna, and they couldn't wait to plunge and explore the underwater world. Thanks to its shimmering scales reflecting sunlight that is filtered from the surface, flocks of fish move smoothly. An otherworldly, beautiful environment is created by coral reefs and exotic plants that gently sway in the water. Swimming further into the water, Peter and Liam easily found the valuable abalone they were looking for. Excited by their prey, they pulled the animals out of hiding and put them in their bags. Liam heard a blood-curdling scream that Peter suddenly let out. Peter's corpse was floating waist high above the water when he turned to look at it. Before diving under the water, Liam's heart sank when he realized that his friend had suffered a terrible loss. Liam Dove was guided by instinct and was determined to save his buddy. Fear and willpower made his heart beat faster. When he opened his eyes, he was startled by what he saw. A giant great white shark, 22 feet long and terrifying in appearance, was violently struggling, grabbing Peter. The shark's merciless jaws sank Peter's flesh deep into its razor-sharp fangs. Liam understood that he would have to move soon in order not to lose his buddy forever. He could see the terrifying scene that awaited him as he approached the shark. Peter's body went limp. His once living figure has turned into a dead rag doll, floundering in the merciless teeth of the beast. The shark effortlessly tore through the flesh with its razor-sharp teeth, leaving a trail of blood behind. As he lunged at the huge shark, Liam's pulse beat with fear and determination. His large silhouette cast a shadow on the choppy seas. As he approached the dangerous predator, ideas flashed through his mind about how he could save his comrade. My heart was pounding in my ears, but despite all his efforts, the shark did not let go of its tenacious grip on Peter's defenseless body. As he endured the torment, the razor-sharp fangs of the predator dug deeper into his skin, tearing limbs and breaking bones. Liam can only watch in horror as the shark lunges at Peter's lifeless body, forcing him to obey. The image that Tran would see now looked terrifyingly similar to a frame from a horror movie, when the water boiled and turned dark crimson. The thick liquid was a terrible mixture of blood and seawater. Liam was unable to bear this horrifying sight and gasped in fear at the sight of what he saw. With each furious blow, the shark's huge jaws clenched on Peter's torso, seemingly gaining more and more control over its victim. When his friend's wounded corpse was crushed, Liam could only watch with sadness, as the shark's action was enough to break bones and tear flesh. Despite his best efforts, Liam knew that time was flying too fast. He felt defeated, hopeless, and powerless at the same time. He also had a sad heart. Liam swam towards the shore, turning his back to the shark. He tensed, trying to comprehend all the horror that had just happened, when tears flowed down his cheeks, and the weight of his friend's departure seemed to lay like a mountain on his chest. People who saw this terrible incident were shocked. Liam was crying so hard that his body was shaking when he got out of the water. People were shouting and rushing to Liam to express their support as the situation became insane. But nothing could make him feel better. When he lost consciousness on the beach and sirens wailed in the distance, announcing the approach of police divers and the Coast Guard, all he could think about was the fate of his friend in the merciless jaws of the shark. Rescuers frantically combed the depths in search of any signs of Peter as the search campaign was hastily launched. But despite their joint efforts, the sea refused to provide any information about the whereabouts of the missing divers. It seemed that the water accepted Peter as its own and would not give up so easily. Weeks turned into days, and the search was fruitless. The neighbors were inconsolable with shock and anguish, and the memory of Peter's terrible fate hung over the waters of Alligator Head Bay in La Jolla, California, like an ominous cloud. A lone fin washed ashore was the only physical reminder of the catastrophic attack, a chilling reminder of the power and danger of the ocean depths. Story 3. The picturesque Punta Beach in Charlotte County, Florida, was swimming in the scorching June heat in 1921. As the temperature rose, locals and visitors to the city often visited the beach in search of salvation from the sweltering heat. Lionel Mack, a 21-year-old young man born and raised in Charlotte County, was one of the many people who rushed to the seashore that day in search of peace and quiet. Lionel launched the boat and headed for the calm seas of Punta Gorda. The waves lapped gently against the side of the boat, giving him a soothing rhythm, and he saw that his worries were beginning to disappear. The bustle and conversations of the lively crowd gradually subsided as he sailed further from the shore, leaving only the murmur of the water and the warm rays of the sun on his skin. Lionel was calmly sailing in his skiff. He feels at ease thanks to the calm waves. In the distance, a fin suddenly appeared, cutting through the waves with menacing determination, while the sun stood high in the sky and cast a warm light on the sparkling surface of the water. As the fin got closer and closer, Lionel's heart began to beat faster. Then, with a terrible shock, he realized that the fin was heading straight for his boat. As Lionel got closer, he realized that the fin belonged to a large shark. He moves terrifyingly fast through the water thanks to his thin body. The shark seemed to be chasing the fish, but in fact it was swimming straight towards Lionel's boat. He was struggling to remember the information he had learned about being rescued from a shark attack when panic seized him. However, the shark hit his boat with such force that it shattered into splinters and sent Lionel into the ocean before he could react. Lionel's heart was pounding with panic as he desperately swam to the surface of the water. He knew he had to get out of the water immediately before the shark suddenly approached him. He saw a huge 17-foot bull shark, his slender outline cut through the water. The shark gracefully moved away from its last victim and now focused on the guy who was now struggling in the water. When Lionel found out that he belonged to a shark, his body was numb with fear. Then, try to break through to the surface of the water. While Lionel is desperately searching for a shark in the water, he lacks oxygen. In the distance, he could see the menacing fin again, gently cutting through the surface of the water. The shark's fin began to circle around him, tormenting him with its slow, frightening movements at great speed. Now, he moves more cautiously, but with the obvious intention of striking. With one vicious and cruel movement, the bull shark grabbed Lionel's pelvis and legs and rushed at him with its razor-sharp teeth, ready to bite. Shockwaves filled with pain swept through his entire body. Lionel's agonizing screams, an obsessive song of fear and sadness, shook the usually calm waters. Lionel's skin was torn apart by a brutal shark bite, which also tore his muscles and tendons. Lionel's pelvic bone was broken in half by the jaws, and the fragile fragments dangled dangerously in the water. With the help of adrenaline and an unyielding determination to live, Lionel felt as if he was being eaten alive by an insatiable monster. In a last desperate attempt to escape, Lionel repeatedly punched the shark on the head with his fists, but the animal turned out to be unyielding. As he swam back and forth in the water, his grip was firm. While the conflict was going on, Lionel was being shaken like a rag doll. Lionel's once sturdy, athletic physique has turned into blood-soaked, mutilated remains. His leg and pelvis were completely torn apart. The water around him became murky, dark crimson. Lionel's body ached with pain as the blood from his wounds mixed with seawater. His vision began to blur, and thoughts began to fade into the depths of his mind as he fought for his life in the jaws of a huge bull shark. With a sudden fit of desperation, Lionel began to tear the shark's gills with all his might, holding on with all his might as the predator recoiled in agony. However, Lionel's primal desire for life overcame his fear, and he gathered all his remaining strength to fight back. Lionel realized that his life depended on it when his fingers sank into the shark's flesh and felt the roughness of its skin on him. After a few more minutes of hard fighting, Lionel managed to get the shark to loosen its grip on his pelvis. Lionel took advantage of the situation and quickly punched the shark in the nose and then kicked it hard in the torso with his other foot. Lionel shocked the shark. An unexpected counterattack carried Lionel back into the depths of the water, leaving him to drift alone, bruised and wounded, but still alive. Lionel clung to a few floating pieces while his body seemed to be on fire. His own blood and the blood of the sharks, which seemed to stick to his body like a second skin, surrounded him with crimson clouds. He struggled to move because of the intense pain that was climbing up his legs, but he rowed with all his might because he knew he had to get to the beach. He continued to fear that the shark might make another attack, so his eyes scanned the water. In the end, he reached the beach, where a crowd of locals and visitors gathered, who waited with bated breath for Lionel to get out on the sand. That he survived and was alive